I want to bring up a different trade, the Jacoby Brissett trade. Because Jacoby Brissett was not a guy who was about to have a brand new enormous contract they were going to have to pay. Jacoby Brissett was not a guy they got a second-round pick for. And Jacoby Brissett was a guy who had actually played more during Brady's suspension than Garoppolo did. If you remember, Garoppolo went out in early in Game 2.
Yep.
Brissett played the rest of that game, all of Game 3, and then the fourth game, which obviously they lost. And Jacoby Brissett, a guy who I know both of you have tremendous respect for. Bill Parcells thinks very highly of Jacoby Brissett. And their return from him was a guy they didn't really use this year, in Philip Dorsett. And so when they made both those trades, now you feel like that second-round pick they got from San Francisco, like that might be used on a quarterback. Like, because when we've seen the Patriots recently draft quarterbacks, I know Matt Castle was a seventh-rounder. But Ryan Mallett was a second-day pick instead of a third-day pick. Jimmy Garoppolo, second-day pick. They've spent second- and third-rounders on quarterbacks during the Brady era more than once. And so you can't have Brian Hoyer, I don't think, as your backup plan going into a season. It's one thing to acquire him mid-season when you've traded away your other quarterbacks because he knows the system, but Brian Hoyer is no long-term solution for them.
Yeah, you can't look at New England and what they're doing at quarterback without looking at both of the trades. The Jacoby Brissett, I thought you brought up a good point, because right now, if he was their third, they would be in a lot better shape. But in deciding to trade him, even before they traded Jimmy Garoppolo, it made the Tom Brady decision. It's right now. Like, they got to get someone for Tom Brady right now. Now, with great players like Tom, who have the cachet that they have a little more say in when they're going to get out, they delay your plan because they performed so well when he was 36, 37, 38, and 39. When Nick Wright dropped the gauntlet on him, he said, hey, how y'all like 40? And because he's been so great, he has delayed Belichick. Because you know what was going to happen? The next starting quarterback for New England Patriots, you know who that was going to be? Jimmy Garoppolo. But Tom played so well that they couldn't get off of Tom, and they have to let Tom finish what he's doing. He has done things that make Belichick have to go beyond what his plan was. But I like the fact that Mr. Kraft said Belichick knows what his marching orders are. And among his many, many responsibilities, finding them a quarterback after Tom Brady is at the top of that. And I believe this year they will speed that up because of the two trades that they made last year. And they will have a quarterback on their roster because New England is used to winning.
Right.
And they know they cannot do that with their current situation with Brian Hoyer being the replacement for Tom Brady. He is a placement holder for a younger player who will take over when Tom's done.
Brian Hoyer, though, is going to be the backup this year. And with Jacoby Brissett, they didn't feel like he was a long-term answer. So that's why they moved on from him when they did. Now they've got to
got better than value of any other point. Like people say, oh, this is the hottest he ever was. When Indianapolis, when they lost luck in getting a first-round player in Philip Dorsett, even though it hasn't transferred over, that guy was a high first. I mean, he was a first-round pick.
First-round pick.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were betting that in their system he could do more than he did in Indianapolis. And sometimes when you get a fresh start, that's what you need. Now the question is, where do they go in terms of getting a quarterback? Ryan Mallett was the highest, I think, was Jimmy and then Ryan Mallett in terms of level of the draft. Most of those guys have been third-round draft picks or late-round draft picks. It's going to be interesting to see how much they're willing to spend in terms of draft capital on trying to find this replacement.
This wouldn't even be a conversation except for a couple months ago. I think they started the season not sure what Tom Brady was going to do, and they planned on keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. They wanted Jimmy Garoppolo there, and then realized 6 weeks in, Tom hasn't lost a step and then had to do something about it. So it's not like they've had 5 years to think about what their backup plan was going to be.
I think Tom has played so well, he's altered any type of plan that they could.
Right.
Like Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, he would have been a nice option, but he's not a better option than trying to win a couple more Super Bowls before Tom gets out of there.
It's so funny now when I look at quarterbacks, I've totally recalibrated the age equation. And you look at Drew Brees or Eli Manning or any of these guys, and they're saying, well, they're getting old. Ben Roethlisberger's like, well, not really.
Well, history would say you're right to recalibrate. Going into the 2014 season, one time in the last 60 years in the NFL, a quarterback 38 or older had a passer rating of better than 100. It was Favre's year in Minnesota. In 2014, Peyton Manning did it. 2015 and 16, Tom Brady did it. And then in 2017, Brady and Breeze did it. So something that only happened once in 60 years in the last 4 seasons has happened 5 times. Like, we got to redo this math.
That's the irony. Why didn't you show me that stat before the season?
Because I wasn't talking about over
Coach.
38. I was talking about over 40.
I just think that this could be a situation, too, where they go draft 2 quarterbacks. My first year in New England, we had 4 on the roster. And if you're not sure who the replacement's going to be, go get a couple guys, let them train, let them be in the system, and see which one pans out.
Awesome.
General manager right there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.